video, let us talk about frequency count method. If you are learning how to analyze algorithms, there is a method called as frequency count method. And using this method, you basically find the time taken by each statement in your algorithm. And this is really interesting way to find the time complexity and also the space complexity. For example, imagine there is a for loop and you want to find out the time complexity using frequency count method. So what you will do, you will find out the number of times your loop will run, and you basically assign 1 unit of time for each statement, and you count the number of statements in your algorithm. For example, if your algorithm has a simple assignment statement like a is equal to 0 or a is equal to some number, which is of course one statement, and this of course will take 1 unit of time. But if you have a for loop, your for loop uh, will run number of times, and it depends on the input size, which is of course your n. For example, if you're trying to do something with an array, or maybe you're trying to work on maybe a series of numbers, it could be a string. You're trying to do something with with arrays or string using a for loop. So when you look at any for loop, you have of course a few things that are happening. You have first of all something like I is equal to 0, where you basically start your loop and then you will do a comparison. This loop will be run maybe n number of times until this condition is true. So you have this condition that will be checked for n plus 1 times, because let us say you're trying to do something like I is less than n, and it of course starts with 0, for example. So you will of course do this comparison for the entire length of your array, if you're talking about n, where n is of course your size of an array. But you also do one more comparison. So whenever there is a for loop, you will execute it n plus 1 number of times, because even when you're doing this comparison, the last time when it will fail, it is also a statement that will of course count, and it will of course be counted towards your total number of statements. And every statement within your for loop will be run n number of times. So this is just an example for a for loop. But if you're trying to do this frequency count analysis, you want to know for any type of loop or for any type of algorithm where you have statements that are repeating, you may be interested in, of course, finding the time complexity using frequency count method, because when you have multiple loops, you can find out the time complexity, which is of the order of maybe n square or maybe n cube or maybe just n. And at the same time, you can also use frequency count method to find the space complexity. Of course, that is also of an order of n or maybe n cube, or maybe it is constant. So you just need to use this method when you think your algorithm has a lot of loops, and this method is really useful because it will clearly tell you that this particular algorithm is probably not that good, because you have the time complexity uh, in terms of maybe n cube, and you'll get this degree. And of course, when you know that this algorithm will take n cube amount of time as compared to n square, it is not that great. So this is just one more way of finding the time complexity and of course the space complexity. So in this video, I just wanted to share this method of analyzing algorithms using frequency count method. Thank you very much.